Ese es el punto. Es decir, vos al zurdo no le podés dar un milímetro, porque le das un milímetro y lo toma para destrozarte.
Funny us going out like this, killed by a 100-foot marshmallow man.
All you have to do is allow taxes to be paid in gold and silver, and let Argentina's name, the land of silver, be the land of silver.
Was hat sie nach Argentinien verschlagen?
Hey guys, Rafi here from the End Game Investor, and today I'm doing one of the most exciting videos I've done, at least for me. Javier Milei, the libertarian, Rothbardian, anarchist candidate for president of Argentina, who it looks like by all polls is actually going to win.
Los estamos pasando de arriba porque no solo le ganamos en lo productivo, somos superiores moralmente, somos superiores estéticamente, somos mejores en todo. Y les duele, están desesperados, están perdiendo la batalla cultural. Los zurdos de mierda por primera vez se ven acorralados, los zurdos de mierda.
Now, I am not the kind of person that believes that politics will save us. That's not the point of politics. The point of politics is to spread a message so that you can change the public discourse to something that makes more sense, that is more liberty-based, that is more liberty-centered, and that is what Javier Milei can accomplish. He might win, he might actually win, and if he does, he can change the public discourse. There's a lot of questions that people have been raising about him. Is he Jewish? Is he not Jewish? He seems to quote the Torah a lot. He has a rabbi.
Because if I am a person, let's say, where I don't go to church, I go to the temple, I don't talk to priests, I have a rabbi as my main advisor, I study the Torah.
This is true. He does have a rabbi. His rabbi's name is Rabbi Shimon Axel Wanish. I do not know him personally, but I know people who know him. Milei is not Jewish, but he does study the Torah for inspiration, and he has thought about converting personally. I hope he doesn't convert because it is dangerous to convert to Judaism. But that said, it's up to him. My followers will know that I live in Israel. I am a proud religious Jew. I'm not a mainstream political Zionist in the sense of rah-rah, sis, boom, bah, state of Israel, though I do love the Jewish people and I love the land of Israel. Me and the state of Israel don't really get along that well. But Milei's plan is for currency competition in Argentina. The very first thing that I heard about Milei was only last month in August. I think Manico64 told me that some libertarian economist had won a primary in Argentina and that he studied Rothbard, and I didn't really look much into it. I thought that was kind of loopy. But then when I looked into it and I saw who this guy was, people were forwarding me Facebook posts that he made, and this is one of them. The top verse says, Aryeh sha'ag mi lo yira Hashem Elokim diber mi lo yinaveh. So that is from the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 8. It means a lion has roared, who will not fear? God has spoken, who will not prophesy? This is the prophet Amos saying that, well, if a lion roars at me, I'm going to be afraid. And if God speaks to me, I have to prophesy. It's just something I cannot resist doing. This is Javier Milei on his account on Facebook, August 17th at 6:49 p.m. And you can see his relationship to a lion is that he kind of has like a lion's mane. He has this crazy hair with these like 19th century mutton chops. He is a badass and he looks serious. He was born Catholic, raised Catholic, I think, but he definitely is not that anymore. He has insulted the Pope in, I think, an appropriate way, calling him an imbecile representative of evil. Pope Francis insulted by Javier Milei, anti-system presidential candidate in Argentina. And Milei is right about this. Pope Francis was all for all of the restrictions of the bad period. He is a socialist. He has false economic doctrine, talks about certain weather patterns that I'm not going to use, certain keywords, because I don't want to get censored here. This is Rabbi Shimon Axel Wanish of Asilva. Asilva is the Jewish community. It is a Moroccan Jewish community in Buenos Aires. And I asked around about this rabbi, and I came back with this interesting answer from an Argentinian rabbi who I know in the States, who knows Milei and is aware of this rabbi, and this was the perfect response that I could have gotten. You can't trust all rabbis these days. This rabbi in the States, who I know says this about him, wrote me back and says, I know the candidate Milei. He is very smart speaking about Milei, and the rabbi is a Sephardic Meraki without interaction with us and or the official Orthodox rabbinate. They are not happy when a rabbi openly supports a candidate. So basically, this guy, Milei, has a rabbi who is not connected to any of the mainstream groups of rabbis, meaning he is his own thing. He is independent, which means he can't be bribed or paid off by the state. When I look for a spiritual leader, I look for someone who's completely disconnected from all of the pipes of money that are flowing out from the inflationary center. Those are the only ones who I even potentially trust. And I do not know this rabbi, but since he is affiliated with any of the official rabbinate connected with the state, this is a very good sign. Now, about Argentina. Argentina has gone through many bouts of hyperinflation and many debt defaults. Here's one in 1990, in January, February, about March 1990, it reached a peak of 20,262.8%. All these numbers are pretty much meaningless anyway. They're just for academic historical purposes. You can sort of measure them, but not really. So hyperinflation in 1990, and it looks like we're going through it again. This is the Argentine peso supply. It is an exponential curve, as all of these are. They all are the same curve, whether you look at the money supply, whether you look at the inflation statistics. This is the gold price in pesos going in the same vertical direction, which means as the gold price rises, the purchasing power for the remaining goods and services that are produced in the country shifts from pesos holders to gold holders. It's the same amount of stuff, but who has dibs on it changes, and that's why you should stack. And that, of course, is not advice, because I don't give advice. Argentina Central Bank balance sheet 2012 to 2022. This is funny, okay? So we have here from 2012, which is as far back as the data go on trading economics, to 2022. You see that the balance sheet went from basically zero, something very, very small number, to 25 with 6 zeros at the end. I don't even know what number that is. 25 million. I think these units of a million, so 25 trillion, something like that. Maybe I'm missing a 0 or 2. Who cares? But if we move from this goes to November 2022, if we move over 1 month to December 2022, then you see what the Argentinian central bank did from November to December 2022. They went from whatever that number was, 25 with 6 zeros, to 25 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3 more zeros overnight. That's vertical. That's their economic. That's your plan to print like another 100 trillion pesos.
I love this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it. Let's do it.
It's not going to work. This is insane. It's the same thing. This is just for comparison with the Turkish lira supply, also going vertical. Why is it going vertical? If their inflation statistics, their consumer price inflation is also going vertical, because you can't stop the process. It's all the same irresistible process that keeps going until the currency is dead. And it is happening in the dollar too. This is the gold price in Weimar. This is the same graph, and you can see here small little bouts of deflation, right? If we go back to Argentinian central bank balance sheet in 2020, there was a little bit of deflation there, a little bit of deflation in 2020, but those are fleeting. Same thing with the Turkish lira supply, a little bit of deflation in 2019. You see these tiny little bumps, a little bit of a deflation. It looks like 2020, tiny little bit of a deflation here in the Turkish lira supply, but then vertical again. Same thing in the gold price in Weimar. So Milei's plan, as I understand it, is currency competition. And he talks about that in this article that I have Google translated into English. Milei attacks his critics, 170 failed economists, basically on his plan for currency competition to allow the circulation of dollars in the Argentinian economy. It says the presidential candidate for La Libertad Avanza cited a biblical passage and accused the signatories of a letter against his proposal of intellectual dishonesty. Through his social networks, the presidential candidate for La Libertad Avanza, Javier Milei, took aim at the economists who signed a letter against dollarization, one of his strongest proposals in the current campaign. The liberal economists invoked the passage 1 Maccabees 3:19, which is technically not in the Bible, but it is a book that I have read. It is a book that I respect. It is the book about the rebellion against the Greeks in Hanukkah by the Maccabees. the Jewish warriors that kicked the Greeks out of Judea. What people should know about Hanukkah is that it's not just a holiday where Jews light a candelabra or light a menorah and sing songs and eat potato latkes. If we had not won that war against the Greeks, there would be no Judaism, there would be no Jews, and there would be, by extension, no Christianity, no Islam. The entire Western world would have never come into existence. So yes, this is a big deal. In a battle, victory does not depend on the number of soldiers, but on the strength that God gives. And this is 100% correct. Next, the presidential candidate took aim directly at the signatories of these 170 economists. 170 failed economists who have been defeated both in the classroom and on the ground in the fight against inflation come to condemn a solution to the money scam, he said, apart from intellectual dishonesty, talking about dollarization when it is currency competition that he proposes. Many of the signatories live on income from foreign foundations and save in dollars beyond being accomplices in the scam of politicians and having defrauded scholarships, pacifying their scholarships in foreign currency in the face of devaluation, the liberal economists later announced. Lastly, Milei concluded, and I will end it here, going through the list, it is clear to me why they dodged the ethical and moral debate on the existence of the BCRA. Stealing is wrong, beyond the more than terrible results. Now, Milei has the right idea, but he needs to go farther. And when he goes as far as I'm suggesting, he's got to be ready for the consequences, which are going to be hyperinflation of the peso and quite possibly hyperinflation of the dollar itself. What you have to do, Milei, is not just currency competition, but allow real money to compete with currency. Go below the currency in the pyramid, go to gold and silver and allow those to compete with currency. Allow money to compete with currency by allowing taxes to be paid in money, in gold and silver. And then you can have full competition, currency versus money, and see who wins. It will be gold and silver. It will be Argentina. It will be the land of silver. And you can return money itself into circulation and circumvent, dig under the foundations of the entire pyramid and inspire the world by doing so. Once taxes can be paid in gold and silver will start to circulate, and you can dig underneath the dollar foundation of the entire system. And that is how Argentina can start the revolution, changing the public discourse, triggering hyperinflation of all currencies so that we can end this corruption that is infecting every system of the planet and leading us to the brink of nuclear war. All you have to do is allow taxes to be paid in gold and silver, and let Argentina's name, the land of silver, be the land of silver. As HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Yehoshua before the conquering of Eretz Yisrael, Chazak ve'amatz, al tifchad ve'al techat. God is with you. Continue your mission and bring gold and silver back as money. You can do this. God is with you. And so are the sane parts of the Jewish people.
Because if I am a person, let's say, where I don't go to church, I go to the temple, I don't talk to priests, I have a rabbi as my main advisor, I study the Torah.
Javier, Rav Wanish, what is the Torah's imperative? What is the mission of the Torah, of the Jewish people on this earth? It is never to worship a derivative of God. Avodah Zarah, idolatry, is a derivative of God. It began with the stars when Enosh decided to worship the stars as God's helpers, so the stars would ask favors of God for him. And then somebody made a form of the star in a temple, and it became even more physical. And then future generations got confused to believe that those statues were God itself, and that is how idolatry began. But in money, it is the opposite. You go from physical to spiritual. You start with gold. You end up with a receipt for gold, which is the dollar. You end up with bank deposits, which are promises for dollars. And you end up with debt, which are promises for deposits, which are promises for dollars, which are promises for gold, as a derivative upon derivative upon derivative. And get rid of the money derivatives. Return to gold and silver as payment and taxes as legal tender. And that way you can upend the entire system. Just as the Torah's goal is to end derivatives of God in the world, our goal should be to end money derivatives in the world and return to gold and silver as money itself, 100% backed. Because as you said, stealing is wrong. And as Rav Sadia Gaon said, the reason that we are not allowed to steal is because if we were, everyone would steal and nobody would make anything and we'd all starve to death. The Torah stops this, and gold and silver stop this in the monetary realm. If people want to pay their taxes in dollars, let them pay it in dollars. If they want to pay it in pesos, let them pay it in pesos. If they want to pay it in yen, let them pay it in yen. And if they want to pay it in gold and silver, allow taxes to be payable in gold and silver. And that will dig right underneath the foundation of the dollar-based fiat monetary system from which Argentina suffers and the rest of the world. Dig underneath the entire thing and cross the streams and end this. This is Rafi with the Endgame Investor. If you enjoyed this video, then sign up for a 2-week free trial of the Endgame Investor and support this channel, or become my patron on Patreon, where I give a weekly Torah class on money and economics and the Torah. You can find the link at patreon.com/endgameinvestor below, and you can acquire your gold and silver with MilesFranklin by calling 855-GAME-END. They are trustworthy and they are fast and discreet.